What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the Modern Jock channel. Have you ever been interested in trying out the Pokemon Trading Card Game, but didn't really know where to start? Maybe it just felt like there was too much of a barrier to entry to really get into the game. Well, today I'm going to show you where I would recommend you begin getting into the hobby. Now, many of you probably don't know this, but with every new regular set that comes out for the hobby, they have a pre-release tournament a few weeks prior to the release of the new set. My recommendation is this is a great place to start getting into the game. Now, here's why I suggest using a pre-release tournament as an opportunity to try out the Pokemon Trading Card Game. For one, your entry into these tournaments actually gives you what is called a build and battle box. Now, this build and battle box actually comes with a pre-built deck to use in the tournament and 4 additional booster packs that you can use to adjust to the deck that you were given, or you can just use it for your own collection. These pre-built decks that they provide you are actually a much simpler game than the typical game that you would play. Now, the reason for this is that generally a Pokemon trading card game will consist of 60 card decks. In this pre-release tournament, you only work with a 40 card deck. You also typically need to knock out 6 Pokemon and take 6 prizes, but in this case, it's only 4. So the games tend to be a little bit shorter, a little bit quicker, a little bit simpler overall just because of this design of the game. Now, on top of that, for the pre-release tournament, usually you deal with fewer rounds. So some tournaments, like a regional tournament, can actually go a full day. 9 rounds, 50 minutes a round. That can easily be a 10 or 11 hour day. But a pre-release tournament is much simpler than that. You're typically looking at just 3 rounds. Sometimes those rounds are only 25 or 30 minutes long, depending on how they set it up. But it's much quicker. You don't have to play everyone. You just play a couple quick games and you call it a day. Now, since the build and battle decks are provided to all the players in this tournament, you're really on much more of a level playing field with your other opponents. You don't have to go and purchase an expensive meta deck to really get into the hobby. You just work with what you have, and most likely you'll be pretty well balanced with the other decks that you come up against. It's kind of a nice way to try out the game without worrying about the cost of entry into the game. And I'd say that generally with pre-release tournaments, it's just a more casual atmosphere. You get a lot of kids and parents coming in, trying out the game for the first time. It just tends to be a lot more fun. There tend to be more people, but again, it's a casual environment. You don't have these highly competitive players coming in for the pre-release. They're really just there to try out the cards and enjoy themselves for a day. And one cool thing about the pre-release tournament is it's your first opportunity to try out the cards from the new set. You actually get to play the pre-release tournament a couple weeks before the set releases officially. So this is your first chance at some of these new cards. You get to see how they work, the mechanics of those cards, and you might be lucky enough to pull some of those illustration rares or whatever the new set is at the time. You might be able to see some of those expensive cards in those decks, and those are yours to keep for your collection. Another great thing about these pre-release tournaments is typically you just get packs as a participation prize for being a part of the tournament. A lot of bigger tournaments, you really don't receive anything extra unless you place really highly, but in the pre-release ones, they're really just doing it for fun, so everyone kind of gets some cool participation prizes, and just a great opportunity to get a couple extra packs that way. Now, for the rest of this video, I actually recorded just the process I went through of opening my box, working through building the deck, some suggestions I might have if you're really just starting out trying to build these decks, and just typically why I think a pre-release tournament is great. Stick around and watch, and you'll hopefully get some cool pointers from what I did with my deck. So when you start out with the pre-release tournament, you're basically given a build and battle box. Entry is usually somewhere between $25 and $30, although with MSRP going up, it really depends. It might be a little bit more. I don't know if they've really established the prices yet, but usually if you do the pre-release tournament, you end up with a couple extra participation packs as well, so just that's something to consider there. But let's go ahead and dig into this box and we'll look at what it comes with. So every box pretty much comes with a similar setup in here. You've got a 40 card pre-built deck, and you can actually just play this as is. You don't have to do anything to it. We'll get into that, but that's kind of your starter deck to work with. And then they give you 4 additional packs that you can use to swap out cards and kind of make it your own deck, make it a little more powerful if you want to. I'll just talk through my suggestions on that eventually, but yeah, that's what each pack comes with. Now, the way that these packs are set up, these decks are set up is essentially there are 4 groups of cards that you can get, and every deck is made up of a combination of 2 of those groups with a promo card for one of the groups that is the 2 in your deck. And it also comes with any energies that are needed for that particular setup, as well as just some trainers and supporters that make the most sense for your deck as well. So we'll take a look at this now. The set, it looks like, came with the Hawlucha promo, so I'll have the Hawlucha group in here, and we'll look at what that has, what comes with that as well. So first thing I just kind of do is I try to set these out by Pokemon types and energies and trainers just to see what the combination of everything is. And we'll go through this, and just for anyone looking for the purpose of this, we'll look at the counts of all the cards too, just so you see what comes in this. Now it looks like there are 6 water energies, 1 metal energy in this case, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 leaf energies. We've got Tatsugiri, Scatterbug, Spupa, let's go together, Dondozo, Pavilion here. We've got 1 Varoom and 1 Revavroom. Here's some of our trainers. Just make room for now. Another Tatsugiri, another Scatterbug, another Spupa, some more trainers. Pavilion, Tatsugiri, Scatterbug, oops, Spupa, Dondozo, and then now with this set it comes with a trainer tips card, which is kind of cool for beginners as well. It gives you some ideas on the main attackers here, so we'll just put that to the side. Now these 3 participation packs you don't get to use in building your deck, so I'm just going to put those out of the way, and we'll come back to the other 4 over here eventually. So the first thing I do, is just get organized by this, look at the numbered trainers. For the counts here, it looks like this deck came with 3 Scatterbugs, 3 Spupas, 2 Pavilion, 2 Dondozo, 3 Tatsugiri, 1 Varoom, 1 Revavroom, 1 Hawlucha, and then your energies like we talked about. And in this case we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trainers. I believe with this set the trainers are just random. It's 0 to 2 of any of these for any of the decks. There's none specific to one of the groups in this case. Alright, so once I've gotten this organized, I start to look at the additional packs here and try to determine if there's anything that will add to the current build or if I want to rearrange this deck. My recommendation is, if you haven't done this before, really start with the pre-built deck and maybe swap out a few cards if they're powerful, but don't do too much extra. So they've also changed the card trick, if you've ever heard about this, the pack trick, so you can basically just flip it over and look at it straight away, and they're in the order, so the last card in here is the best card, hopefully. Alright, so I'm going to keep these by type, and really I'm going to probably just move any that are a different type from what my deck currently has out to the side. They're most likely not going to be used in the deck because I generally have the majority in these types that are on the table already. So, Psychic, Dark, Fire, probably not the deck that I'm going to build. Water potentially could play in this deck, so I'll put that over to the side. Fire again, not so much. Grass could work. Colorless can always work in a deck. Dark doesn't work. Lightning doesn't really do much, and here's a pretty cool card I got here, an Arcanine EX. Now this is stage 1, so I would need the Growlithe. I mean, any EX could potentially be powerful regardless of the type, but I need the basic as well, so put it to the side, we'll see. And then some extra energy. We'll go to the next pack. Also notice I didn't get any trainers in there. Any trainers you find, I would highly recommend at least putting to the side for your deck potentially, because they might benefit any deck. Really depends. Alright, so second pack. Pokeball, like I said, could be helpful, so we will keep that here. Lightning, most likely not. Alpad could be helpful. Psychic, not so helpful. Dark, not helpful. Miriam could very well be helpful. Dark not helpful, Energy Switch could be helpful, Psychic's not super helpful, and Magnezone's a good one as well, but again it's a stage 2, I don't really think I have the stage 1 or the basic on this. I'll put it to the side though and I'll go back through my packs and figure out if it's valuable. And then another Energy. Now with Energy, it does supply the energy you typically need for the deck here, but if you need extra, there's usually a box that your local game store will supply. It comes with their kits. You can basically get any energy you need, as many as you need. Really, that's not meant to be a hindrance for your deck. So if you need to find extra decks or extra energy, just ask your game store and they should have some to provide you for free. All right, third pack. Sorry, I have four packs. So this is the third. Now here's an electric. That should go here. Considering we might want to use Magnezone. Energy Switch again is another good trainer. Varoom might be good because we have only one of each of those right now. Water essentially could be helpful here. Grass could be helpful again. We have another colorless, another leaf here. Sorry. Another leaf as well. Psychic's probably not helpful. And then we have a fighting now. We really don't have fighting here, so again, I'm going to put this to the side. And another energy. Then we're on to our last pack. And again, when you get these boxes, once you've paid your entry into the game, these are yours to keep. So it's cool to build a deck, but these are your cards. Like I got 2 EXs already, and I'm gonna put those in my collection after today. There's another Psychic. Now I'm noticing that I have a bunch of Psychic Pokemon, so maybe there's some value in swapping out if I don't think some of these cards are useful. But it'll really depend on the type of deck I build. If I really want to make a lot of changes, essentially I would need to take out a whole type of Pokemon, maybe Leaf, take all of them out at once and replace it with Psychic. You really don't want to have more than 2 types of Pokemon, which doesn't include colorless since those can be used for pretty much anything. But you kind of want to stick to 1 or 2 types if at all possible. Just makes your deck more consistent.
What's up with the
All right, some more Psychics here. Fire, Leaf again, Psychic. So we have a lot of Psychic. We'll have to look at that and see if there's any value. Really, we want to find some good attackers, and I think this is mostly basic Pokemon, so probably not super helpful. Fighting again, but that's only the second fighting, so I don't think it'll be super valuable. And then an energy. Okay, so coming back to our initial EXs here, which could be very helpful. We want to see if there's any fire that support it. We need a Growlithe, essentially, or we need a Magneton as well. And just get this organized a little bit. There's a fire, Psychic, sorry, dark energy over here. Other energy.
Where'd you go?
Other energies. There's our 4 energies. There's another Magnemite, but we still need Magneton, so I don't think we're going to be able to use Magnezone at all. Torkoal for fire, Houndour. Yeah, so we will not be able to use either EX just because we don't have the evolution Pokemon. And I don't believe we have any rare candies either, which could potentially be here. Rare candy could potentially help us skip that, but it doesn't look like we pulled any. Nope. So, alright, so that pretty much decides that these are not going to be used in this deck. So we're just going to put those to the side. So these for sure can't be used in these decks. And we'll just call that good. Alright, so then let's look at our fire here that I kind of moved to the front. They are basic Pokemon, but the question is how valuable are they compared to what we have on the board? Can they really replace what we have? So I'm going to say probably not. Any coin flip ones are not really consistent. These are only the basic ones. It's kind of an expensive cost with 3 energy. So I'm just going to take those out as well and just assume not fire for this deck. And with only 2 fighting Pokemon, again, kind of expensive, and the stage 2 isn't helpful. The stage 1 is not super strong. So I'm taking those out as well. I think we had a few dark in here. Yeah, it looks like 4 dark. Probably not enough for what we need. Let's see if we can even use some of the evolutions here. So we've got Y-Sharp, Visharp, sorry. We don't have a Poniard though, so we can't use that one. We can't use this Maba Stiff. So these are the only 2 we can use. Are either of them helpful? They have a retreat cost, so probably not helpful there. The attacks are not great, although this one would be interesting. You could potentially just knock something out with 2 dark, but I think that's a little expensive for this. We want more consistency in these type of decks. Yeah, I'm gonna go without dark here. So now we're down to Psychic and 1 lightning, which is not gonna be helpful, so we'll take that out. Alright, so with our Psychic, let's get them in order by what they evolve from. For instance, Kirlia needs a Ralts, but we don't have a Ralts, so Kirlia can't be used. We've got a couple Dedenes, but are they powerful enough? 10 damage for each damage counter? Probably not. Yeah, that's probably not super helpful here. It's a 3rd Dedenne actually. This is a different one, so let's look at this one just in case. You could discard an energy, could be helpful, but it's on a coin flip. I don't think that's really helpful. We have better cards. Alright, then we've got Doxbone, which comes from Fido. We do have a Fido. Just 1 and 1 though. So let's see what this does. Can't be burned, be okay, but I don't think we're really concerned about being burned a whole lot. And it's an expensive attack, so probably not on those. We're now down to 4 basics here, which are all pretty simple, so I'm just going to say no Psychic. Alright, so we're not changing up the deck that much in this one. Let's look at these and see if these do support the deck in any way. I would really like another Tatsugiri, but it doesn't look like we got one. So for the water, I mean, Dondozo and Tatsugiri work well together because Dondozo does better attacking based off of how many Tatsugiri you have in your discard. So, you know, those work really well. I'd like another Dondozo if I could, but I don't. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 attackers primarily. Oh, I also have Revivroom, so that's another option here. So I do have 5 attackers. That's probably enough for this game. Now, the pre-release is a really good tournament to start with just because you're starting with a simpler game. You only play 40 cards in your deck, and you only have to knock out 4 Pokemon, take 4 prize cards. So when you're thinking through your attackers, you need at least 4 good attackers. 5 is fine, but you don't really need more than that. So you just have to think about who are your primary attackers and how will you win the game. In this game, it's going to be these two, and potentially Revivroom. Alright, so these 2 here do not really look helpful. They're just kind of weak basic Pokemon, so not really valuable. Grass, let's see if there's anything worthwhile here, anything we can use. So Scovavilion, we have 3 of those. They're all stage 1s that all evolve from Capsicid, and we don't have Capsikids. Those are going out. We can't use them. Now these 3 we can, but is there any value? Tarantula, I can't even say that. Tarantula doesn't look very powerful. Pineco, it's good defensive, but it's still pretty weak. Yeah, really none of these seem that great. So I don't think we're going to change the deck a whole lot. We're actually probably just going to stick with our attackers here with the option of maybe adding an extra Revivroom or Varoom here. Almost forgot about these. We can also see, well, we can't use Oinkalone because it's the stage 1, we don't have a basic, so not making a lot of changes there. So really, like, for this deck, our biggest changes might be around our supporters. So are these supporters better than the ones here? Now, one thing I know about this tournament is that anyone can potentially get Mesagoza, but it's the only stadium that really is going to show up. So I'm going to bank on someone else is probably going to have this, and I'm going to take this out of the deck. I don't think I need to have it in the deck. It's not even that powerful of a stadium, so that gives me 1 space, and let's just say that covers the extra room here. Then we've got a couple other things here. Ultra Ball is going to be super powerful with this deck because we need to get Tatsugiri in the discard. So I'm going to definitely keep that in the deck. I think a switch will be super valuable. Pokeball's okay. If we had an S-Ball, it'd be better, but we don't in this case. So we probably need to keep this in there. And we have 3 supporters. I really almost think we need a 4th supporter, so
I'm going to look at potentially adding this. Another option is using Palpad instead, but let's see. Yeah, I don't even know if Miriam's that helpful in this. I think we're just going to stick with these 3 supporters for this game. It's one less than I really want. Maybe we can add the Palpad. That'll help us to get one back if you really need it. Yeah, we might look at that. So we've got this here. Now, these energy switches could be really helpful. Maybe not the energy switches. I was really hoping for an energy retrieval. Yeah, I don't think we need these. Another Pokeball could be helpful. And a Palpad could be helpful. Let's look at how many grasses we really need here. So how you work out energies here, or leaf energy, sorry, I keep saying grass, but you really just look at your main attackers and how many energies are needed for those. You don't need more than that in the game. So we'll look at, Dondozo, we could do the 120, but really we're looking at doing the release rage here. So I would bank on 2 energies. It doesn't even need to be water here. And then on these here as well, we need probably 2 grass for each Pavilion. So for sure we need 4 grass for Pavilion, for both of them to be powered up. But then this extra energy is just not super helpful. I don't think we're going to use Halucha as an attacker. Really we have these 3 are our main attackers here. So do we need this many energy? Probably not. We do need 4 for Rev of Room in the case there. We need at least 1 metal, but I might put a second just to make sure we have another metal energy. And then we need potentially 2 more energies on his if we consider 2 metals. So we'll do 2 waters. Now the 2 waters give us Dondozo's potential second attack. 2 more would give his second attack. That at least covers him. And then yeah, maybe we need a few more energies, but no, I don't think we really need. I don't know, I'd probably put a 5th here and maybe 2 more grass energies. Yeah, but we don't need, this is a lot of energy for what we're doing here. I just don't think we need all of this energy. So I'm going to take these out. I might put them back in, but let's see what we can add instead. So that gives us room to add a Pokeball and the Palpad for sure. I don't think we're going to need to shuffle Pokemon back into our deck. We've got enough attackers, so this is just going to go here. Alright, let's look at how many we have. So we need 1 more metal. We'll get that from the box that we're supplied. We've got 5 water. We've got 6 leaf energy. So that puts us at 12. Let's see how many we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 12 and 8 is 20. We've got another 8 here, 28. This will put us at 32, 35, 37. So we're 3 short, so we can actually put 3 energies back in. So which ones are we short on? I think I might put 1 more water energy in here. At least 1 more grass, probably another grass. I think I'll put 1 more water energy here. And other people might have an opinion on how to build this deck. I'm just kind of building it how I think would work for this. Alright. So I think that's pretty much our deck. So let's get this organized and just look at what we've got here. Now, Halucha can be kind of nice in this deck because you can finish out some attacks on Pokemon just by putting a couple damage counters there. So that's kind of a nice one to add. Really most excited about this Pavilion. I think it's pretty cool. You can actually place Scatterbug down and on the same turn get it all the way up to Pavilion, which is pretty cool. So alright, so we should be 1 card shy in this deck because we need to go get the other metal energy. So we'll look for that. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 30. Alright, we've got 1 extra, I think, than we want here. So let me just do this 1 more count. 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, So we should have 15 energy. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, so we have one extra. So I'm going to take out one additional leaf. I don't think we need that. All right, so we've got enough for the deck now, and we're ready to go. Now, a couple just pointers for most pre-releases. You generally want to have kind of a pretty balanced deck, and with the fact that these are pretty simple decks, you don't really sway from this too much, but you generally want 12 to 15 Pokemon, 10 to 12 trainers if you can do it, or 12 to 16 energy cards. And we have 15 energies that we talked about. I think we're a little low on trainers, but it's just based on how these decks were provided to us and built, so just expect less in this pre-release. We only have 8, but that's just how this set is really set up. So then that means we have a few extra Pokemon as well, but we're evolving up to like stage 2s here some, so it's not surprising. We just have to make sure we get them out, and some of the supporters help for that. This also essentially makes more trainers because we can get some of our supporters back in the game. So we've got 3, 6, 8, 9. We've got 17 Pokemon, so a little high on that, but that's just how this set is set up. So still pretty close to what we want. So yeah, once you get here, you definitely want to sleeve up all of your cards. Typically what I bring to a tournament is a set of damage counters and condition markers. You really need these just in case. Like for instance, Pavilion in here actually has flip a coin and choose a special condition to put on your opponent. So you need to have some of these like poison markers or burn markers just to make sure you can account for those conditions if that happens. But then yeah, I've got a set of damage counters here, some dice to roll. If they say flip a coin, you generally use a dice. Odds would be tails, evens, or heads. And then I also just bring boxes of sleeves. So here's just some example of some cards that are sleeved up right now. But yeah, I generally bring, you know, a set of sleeves. These are Dragon Shields. I definitely recommend those. I'll have a link in this in the description where you can pick some of those up. I think they work really well. Just pretty good quality overall and good feel to them. They've got a matte back, and yeah, I generally use those for everything. I do recommend sticking to a color that you like just because it's easier to purchase more of them if you need additional sleeves going on. Well, with that, once you start the tournament, just have fun with it. It is really a simple tournament. Enjoy it. And then, yeah, if you win, you might pick up some extra prizes. Generally, they have like some prizes for winning the tournament or placing pretty high overall as well. So with that, thanks for listening in.